So, after we have completed water and air, we shall come into the next portion, that is soil. Well, if I tell you, children, you tell me what is the importance of soil, you can tell hundreds of importance as such. Our house is built upon the soil. You are watching my video, that computer is placed on a ground, that is again made upon soil. Your school is made upon soil. Variety of potteries are made upon soil. So in a nutshell, I can tell that majority of the substances that we use in our day-to-day life is made up of soil. Now, can you make an interrelation like that of a triangle? I said in the beginning of the chapter that lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere together constitute the biosphere. I told. Now we have discussed about the atmosphere, air, wind, air pollution. We discussed about water, fresh water, saline water, water pollution and that of the major factors of water. Now the third topic is lithosphere, that is our soil. So the soil that we are used on is something which is very special, something which is very unique. Now, before going into what soil plays a role in our life, which is very known to all of us, I would like to discuss how soil is formed. Now we know that there are three types of rocks: igneous rock, sedimentary rock and metamorphic rock. Now the thing is, billion of years ago when the earth was once made, the crust, that is the outermost covering of the earth, that crust was having rocks. Say this is earth and this is the crust, that is the outermost covering. The crust is having rocks. Say I consider one rock as mother rock. Mother rock. So this rock with due course of time will form soil. That is this, on which we will have plants as well as this animal. Okay. So crust consists of rocks and the rocks is making the soil. Okay. Now my question is, if this mother rock is making the soil, then what is that process called? The process by which the mother rock makes the soil is called weathering. It is called weathering. And the texture, the quality of the soil will be totally dependent upon the type of mother rock from which it is derived. Like whether the soil will be loamy, sandy or clay, it will depend upon the mother rock's weathering. So what is the process of formation of the soil? The earth is having an outermost covering that is called crust, and the crust is having rocks, which is a mother rock, and the mother rock with due course of time weathering due to physical factors which we will discuss now forms the soil. Now what are the physical factors that is forming the soil? Let us see. The first physical factors that is responsible for the formation of soil is sun and the solar energy that is coming out from sun. How? The solar energy is very hot. Its temperature is quite high. So the sun's radiation which is coming out from outside to inside through the atmosphere of the earth is falling on the rock. When it is falling on the rock, it is causing expansion or it is causing relaxation. I mean to say, if this is the rock, after the solar energy is falling upon it, it expands in its size. It becomes a bit bigger, very big, very minute, but it expands because everything expands upon heating. Metals also expand upon heating. So rock is expanding upon heating. But in the absence of sun, when there is night, when there is no solar energy, when the temperature is lower, it will again contract. It will again contract, means it will again regain its original shape. Now in this process of subsequent relaxation, or you can say expansion and contraction, there is formation of crevices. What is crevices? Crevices means crack. Because say if this is the rock, this part is expanding, this part is again contracting. But it is not the case that all the parts of the rock will subsequently do the contraction and relaxation at the same rate. The rate may vary. The rate may vary means there will be development of crevices or cracks. What will be developing? Crevices or cracks. The cracks or crevices will form. The second factor is water. Now what this water is doing? It is doing two works. First, it is growing inside the crevices which was formed by the sun, and with due course of time it is cooling down. Means after it goes inside the crevices, it forms frozen state. When it comes to frozen state, definitely it will not allow the rock to contract, and that will cause the crevices to become bigger. Am I clear? Means the crevices already formed by the solar energy of the sun is present. Now the water from outside is entering into the crevices, temperature is going down at night, and the water is getting frozen up. The freezing of the water is thus causing widening of the crevices. Now what is the second role? The second role is the water is flowing into, and the flow, the steady and constant flow of water in a huge gush is causing aberration. What is aberration? Say this is the rock and the water is flowing like anything. So the uppermost layer of the rock will be totally exposed off. Why it will be exposed off? Due to the hitting of the water at high force. So the flow of water causes aberration, thereby facilitating the process of formation of rocks. The third process is wind, and it works similar to that of the second function of water. It causes wearing of rocks. Wearing means constant amount of flow of the wind in a very high speed strikes the surface of the rock, and upon striking it loses its surface. How it loses? Because already crevices formation is there because of the sun. So these crevices will expand and finally it will break, because our aim is to break the mother rock to get the soil. And the fourth factor is living organisms. First I will give you the example of roots of plants. Say this plant. A plant is growing on this rock. So definitely there will be roots. So the roots is going inside the crevices of the rock which was already formed by the sun. And the perforation of the root into the crevices will cause it to break more and more. So roots inside the crevices causes more of breaking. The second is lichens and mosses. We have already undergone this chapter on lichens and mosses. In a gist I can tell that lichens and mosses also releases some substances that causes wearing of the rock. Wearing means the rock will get into smaller particles. And how it will get? Because lichens and mosses need to permanently get fixed upon the rocks. In the motive of getting permanent fixation upon the rocks, they releases some chemicals which causes aberration on the surface of the rock so that they may strongly adhere, that is stick to the surface of the rock. So now let me give you in a nutshell. We have crust. Crust is having rock, and upon weathering it is forming soil. What are the factors that is responsible? Sun, which is making constant solar energy irradiated over rock, contraction and expansion. Expansion in day, contraction in night. Since both are not at equal rate, formation of crevices and crack. Water, the water goes inside those crevices, freezes, do not allow proper contraction, widens the crevice. And the second point is constant flow of water causes wearing of the surface of the rocks. Third point is air. Again the constant flow of air causes the aberration of the rock. And the fourth point is living organisms, say roots of trees, say lichens or mosses. Lichens and mosses secrete certain substances that causes the aberration of the rock, whereas the roots of the trees penetrates into the crevices already formed previously and finally widens the crevices and helps in breaking of the rocks, finally yielding the soil. So this is the entire process of the formation of the soil. Now we shall go into the next part of the soil, that is what are the composition of soil and how we have to prepare. So after we have discussed the factors responsible for making the soil, we shall go to the next topic about some of the credentials that we must know about the soil. Soil is a mixture. We have all discussed in chapter 2 of your chemistry that soil is a mixture. Why it is mixture? Because it is not a homogeneous composition of a particular type of substance. Various type of substance constituently make the heterogeneous mixture, that is soil. Why? Again I can ask that if it's a heterogeneous mixture, then what is the major component in the soil? The major component in the soil is the rock particle. Now, coming to the next topic is, there is presence of humus and life forms in the soil. What is humus? It's a very important question from exam point of view. Humus is dead and decaying matter found in the soil. It can be a dead leaf, it can be a dead earthworm, even it can be a dead fruit. But it are the dead and decaying matter found in the environment. Now, why it is important for the soil? Dead and decaying matter is important for the soil because breaking down of this dead and decaying matter gives rise to proper type of vegetation upon the soil. Am I clear? Now, the mineral nutrients of the soil is dependent upon the type of rock it is derived from. Okay, as I have told you, there are three types of rocks. So, the mineral content of the soil is dependent upon the type of rock it is being derived. The minerals present in the soil is the parameter or is the evidence of the fact that that particular rock is responsible for giving this type of soil. The next topic is the quality of soil. The quality of soil means I would say the soil is fertile or the soil is not fertile or the soil is semi-fertile based on the presence of humus. The amount of humus present in the soil decides the parameter that how soil will be good or fertile. Why so? The humus present in the soil makes the soil porous. Making pore in the soil means what? More porous nature of the soil means the soil will allow the coming or the sucking or you can say the movement of water and mineral nutrients more into the deep of the soil. So, more the porous of this nature of the soil means more deep the water and mineral nutrients will move. In a nutshell, I can say that the porous nature of the soil is because of the amount of humus, and that is why the presence of humus decides the type of soil we are talking about, whether it's a fertile soil or it's an infertile soil or what is it. So, the humus is an important parameter for considering the soil to be fertile or not fertile. The next point is type. There are three types of soil: sandy soil, loamy soil and clay soil. These three types of soils are based on the average size of the soil particles. As we have already gone across this chapter in class 7, the sandy soil has bigger size of particles and it cannot hold water, whereas loamy soil can easily retain water for a very long period of time because of interconnected soil particles in between them. So, the type of the soil is dependent on the average size of the particles with which the soil is made. So, average size of particles: sandy, loamy and clay. The next topic that we are going to discuss after these parts are that the plants growing on the soil is dependent upon three factors: the nutrient present in the soil, the depth of the soil and the humus present in the soil. Means the amount of vegetation that will occur on a particular plot of land is dependent upon nutrients, depth and humus. So, in a nutshell, if I can recapitulate once, then soil is a mixture. There is presence of humus and life forms, say plants, say earthworm, animals, microorganisms, all life forms are present in soil. I can also say that the type of rock decides the mineral content of the soil. The presence of humus decides the quality of the soil because humus makes the soil porous. The average size of the soil particle decide the three types of soil. And the plants growing on the soil is dependent upon the nutrients present in the soil, the depth of the soil and the humus of the soil. Because the herbs or shrubs or trees, whatever will grow on the soil will depend upon these three parameters a lot. Now, coming to soil pollution, which is very important aspect, what we do is we extravagantly destroy the quality of the soil by adding pesticides and fertilizers. A soil can be easily changed from fertile to barren with proper mismanagement. Means if mismanagement is done at a high rate, the soil's quality will be vigorously degrading. And how that vigorous degrading will be experienced? what will happen is the fertile soil will turn into barren, though no plants will go upon it. The top soil, where the humus presence is maximum, decides the biodiversity, because more the humus, more is the biodiversity. Lesser the humus, lesser is the biodiversity. Why? Because humus makes the soil porous and allows various types of flora and fauna to flourish. And the effect of soil pollution is also maximum on this topsoil because it is exposed. The fertilizers and pesticides used in the ground kills the microorganisms of the soil who makes the soil fertile. Even it kills the earthworm, which is said to be the friend of farmers, because earthworm makes the soil fertile by constant cutaneous respiration of the skin. Nextly, there is soil erosion, which is causing a huge amount of soil pollution. Why so? The constant air and water, which is one way making rock to soil, also takes away soil from one place. Say here there was this amount of soil. Air and water both acting together will make the soil get like this, and that amount of soil is erased off. So the soil which is getting erased off is due to the soil erosion, which has to be stopped, because soil erosion causes a huge damage to the soil. Now what can you do to prevent soil erosion? The best way to prevent soil erosion is by planting trees, because the roots of the trees hold the soil particles. The roots of the trees penetrate into the soil and holds the soil particles, and since it anchors the soil particles, it helps the soil particles to get adhered. And when there is a huge flow of air or water over the soil, it will not allow the soil to come out of its position. Say this is a plant, this is the soil, these are the soil particles. So the roots coming out from the soil, say this is the root of this plant. So this root will coil around the soil particle and will hold the soil strongly, strong enough not to leave even when water and air is gushing inside. So the soil erosion can be prevented by planting trees. Plant trees. So it is our responsibility to avoid soil erosion, because soil is the source of our food. If soil is getting polluted then or eroded, then we will be at the highest risk. So how can we avoid soil pollution? We can avoid soil pollution by planting as much as trees as possible. So with this, we complete the soil pollution and soil erosion, and you should remember that one way to avoid soil erosion is to plant as many trees as possible.